Hi there, Chris Klein, Director of Butterfly Ridge Butterfly Conservation Center here in Southeast Ohio, and coming to you from the back of my pickup truck. My wife and I, we just got back from a trip over to Beavercreek, Ohio, which, for those of you who aren't in the know about Southwest Ohio, Beavercreek is kind of partway between Dayton and Xenia. We were over there visiting Siebenthaler's Nursery, and the reason we were at Siebenthaler's Nursery was to get these 3 1-gallon pots of pipevine. Okay, give you a little bit closer look there. So, you're probably asking yourself, gee, Chris, 233 miles, that's a long ways to go to get 3 1-gallon plants. And if you are actually saying that, then you are correct. It is a long ways to go to get 3 1-gallon plants. And I think what it boils down to is 3 things. Number 1, and probably the most prominent of the 3 things, is I am obsessive compulsive as far as creating butterfly and pollinator habitat, so I don't mind going to extremes like 233 miles to buy 3 plants. And so what does that work out to? About 75 miles per plant, something like that. Number 2, it means these must be really good plants if I'm willing to go that far for 3 of them. And number 3, it must mean that these plants couldn't be found anyplace closer, which is in fact correct. So what I've got, like I said, I've got pipevine here. The fancy name is Aristolochia macrophyla. And as you know, I'm obsessive about native plants, and I regret to inform you, these are not native to Ohio. Now, they're native all around Ohio. They're native in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, the Carolinas. They are not native in Ohio. And they're actually native in those other states on counties that border Ohio. And so my hunch is that if somebody looked hard enough, we could probably find them in Ohio, or that the Ohio River is creating an amazing barrier keeping those plants out of Ohio. Now, the reason why I wanted this pipevine, because here in Ohio, we in fact do have a native pipevine. Some people call it Virginia snakeroot. Aristolochia serpentaria, I think it is. Well, and we actually found some of that pipevine here last summer. But here's the downside of it. Our native pipevine only gets about this tall, and it only gets 4 or 5 leaves on it. And the reason that's a problem is because pipevine is the caterpillar host plant for the pipevine swallowtail. And the pipevine swallowtail caterpillars can actually get quite big. I mean, about a full-grown caterpillar is at least as big as my pinky. And so you can imagine one pipevine swallowtail caterpillar would go through a plant that tall with 4 leaves. They'd go through that in no time. And once again, we found, I think, a total of 8 or 10 of the native pipevine. Obviously not enough to maintain any kind of a swallowtail population. And so instead, we are going with the almost native, Aristolochia macrophyla. It's really good as far as attracting the pipevine swallowtails. Obviously, you get a lot of foliage growth on it, as indicated by the size of those little 1-gallon pots there. So they can feed a lot of caterpillars. And actually, last year we ended up borrowing a lot of leaves from Bobby Bishop, who runs Lilyfest. We borrowed a lot of pipevine leaves from her to feed our caterpillars, since we didn't have enough of the native pipevine. And so that's why I made the 233-mile trip over to Beavercreek just to buy these 3 plants. And we are going to plant them up by our tree house, build like a little trellis thing for them to climb on, because up by the treehouse is where our native pipevine is, so we know the the swallowtails have found the native pipevine, so we're, since we know the butterflies are already there, we're just going to kind of enhance things for them. But once again, it kind of shows the condition of, how to put it. We really need a better variety of native plants, a better variety of pollinator plants in our local nurseries and garden centers. There's only 2 nurseries I know of in Ohio that carry this kind of pipevine. The place we went to, Siebenthaler's, over there in Beavercreek, and I think it's called Hirt's Nursery. It's up towards the Akron Canton area, I believe. So consequently, Beavercreek's a lot closer than Akron is, so that's why we went there. But there, a lot of nurseries just, once again, they're not carrying good stuff for pollinators, and they're not really carrying native plants. I mean, that's why I plug Natives in Harmony so much there in Marengo. They have a nice selection of natives. Scioto Gardens in Delaware has a nice selection of natives. And really in Central Ohio, that's about it. Southeast Ohio, there's nothing. Pretty much nobody carries a good diversity of natives. So, it sounds like a business opportunity to me. But once again, this particular pipevine, Aristolochia macrophyla, is just awesome plant for the pipevine swallowtails, and we grow it here. We'll be growing it in partial shade, and it should do fine in that kind of setting. I've seen it grown on the east side of buildings. Last year we had some on the west side of the nature center, and it seemed to do okay there. It's hard to tell because we ended up defoliating it to feed caterpillars, but So anyway, so today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about pipevine and pipevine swallowtails. Really neat butterflies, big butterflies. The males, you can't miss them with the bright blue color on the wings. So another plant to think about, especially if you're looking for a vine in kind of a partial shade environment. Give Siebenthaler's a call over there in Beavercreek, or if you're more northern Ohio, check out, like I said, I think it's Hirt's Nursery up around Akron, and see if you can track down some pipevine. And so with that, I need to get busy building a trellis for this stuff. So I better let you go, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.